Alright, so I got some more color. Had to tweak that last night because it was driving me nuts. So orange is brighter and pink is, well, the bangs are pink again. They fade real fast. I don't know why the front of my hair fades the fastest when the back of my head is what is getting the shower to hit it, right? So I don't know what the story is there, but at least it's where I can fix it myself. So bonus, right? Just got done skating, like, I think I did 7 miles, and I kept having this thought, like, okay, when I was skating all the time, starting out, I started thinking it's like I'm working my legs, doing cardio stuff, but it's like I'm not doing anything for my arms. So I started adding in like a single plank at the end of my skate. It was like up on the curb, so maybe not technically a real plank. I mean, but really, it's a real plank, but just not flat on the, or just not down on the ground all the way, right? I don't know. But I decided to start throwing that in. And then the last few times I've done them, I was thinking it's like I feel like I'm holding this a lot longer than I ever would have been able to before. And then I was kind of curious as to how long I was holding the plank. And I was thinking, I need a friend who can, who can time me on it. And it's like, fuck, I'll be my own damn friend. I got a fucking timer on this thing. So I timed myself, and I did hold it for a minute. Probably could have gone a little longer, but I didn't. But yeah. So I was proud of me because, like, once upon a time when I went into basic training, we had to do, had to do so many push-ups in a certain amount of time, or like under 2 minutes or something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, when I started out, I couldn't hardly push up. So I consider a minute of a plank a win, okay? Even though that was like a long time ago, and I've been doing a lot since then. Not really regularly necessarily, but I mean, I was skating regularly for a long time, and I'm still trying to at least do it 2 to 3 times a week. So yeah. So I still counted a win all the same. My mother and I irritated each other early. So this morning I was doing my normal start the day. I go through some like different meditations. There's a bunch of shorter ones that are in this like Twin Flames 1111 thing that I got way back when to learn more about that kind of stuff. And I've been doing those the past several days, and there's like this one thing that's like a soul star chakra activation thing. I don't know, it's weird. It's like 45 minutes, and it's specially made for portal times and whatnot. So since 1111 is one of those portals, I did that a couple times this week. And after I do the Twin Flames meditation things, I'll find like a random one for like, okay, today's was the Honest Guys meditations, and it was manifest your dreams. Yesterday, I think there's been like some higher self ones and aligning with your destiny kind of things, kind of getting in go mode. So I've been doing these things to start my day, right? And trying to remember to think of something to be grateful for before I start doing anything else. Because if I get distracted with thinking instead of enjoying the awakened rest time, I guess, 444. Like before my mind really starts wandering and I lose sight of what I want to do, right? So if I or I try to come up with something to remember, to be grateful for. Frequently here lately, it's, that, I mean, this is actually kind of funny. Okay, so a while back, I took my parents to an appointment, and afterwards we went to IHOP, and the girl that waited on us, she was very nice, and when we went to leave, she came over and she said she had this thing she liked to do for her customers that she has had in her section and whatnot, and she had like this little jar thing that had like different pieces of paper in them, and she said something about whatever you pull, trust it, believe it, and hold on to it, right? This little slip of paper. And the one that I pulled happened to say, I am supported, and then in parentheses it says, even if you don't realize it or don't know it. And of course, one of those means of support being the financial end of things, that one that, since I was raised in the whole scarcity mindset side of things, I try to remember to at some point put it out there that all of those things are working out in my favor too, right? That that the universe provides, and the universe has ways of lining me up with the stuff I need when I need it, and so that's kind of there's the money end of things is kind of where I've been trying to make sure I have a specific focus for gratitude for starting my day, right? That was a real complicated word salad to say that. Be thankful for the money, even if we can't see the money, right? Even if I haven't aligned up with the part in the vortex, like Abraham Hicks always says, you got to line up with the money in the bank that's already in your vortex. You just got to line up with the high-flying disc and stay on the high-flying disc as long as you possibly can before life spits you back off of it. And in my little world over there, it's pretty easy to get spit back off of it. So I've been trying to do the things to help me not get spit back off of it, right? So as little time around my family as possible, because God knows that's a trip. And they are dead set on maintaining the scarcity mindset on everything. I'm going to roll my windows up. My arms are kind of chilly now. But my car is not. There we go. Go the other way. Sorry. That's really obnoxious. Oh. I meant to leave it cracked half an inch and my finger hit it too far over. Oh well, that's where. Oh, forgot about the back. That's why I got chilly. So anyway, not the scarcity mindset stuff. We're trying to move beyond that and be opened up to better things coming in, right? And believing that the universe has a way and that everything is coming together for me. And this morning, after I go through my process, I see that I have a message on Facebook Messenger, and it's from the marketplace, and somebody wanted something that I had listed. My brother gave my aunt and uncle this like gutter cleaning set that's like, it's supposed to attach to certain models of leaf blowers and whatnot, and it did not work for the one that my aunt and uncle had. So my aunt asked about if my parents would use it. It's like, I don't know what they got. They're not really helpful on any of that stuff anyway. Pretty confident. I mean, they got screens on them, but pretty confident my dad's days of giving a shit about any of that, it's pretty much done anyway. But it was one of those things that ended up on the marketplace. It's been there for a while, like a good month anyway. And today was the first and only time anybody's contacted me about it. And he said, when can I pick it up? And I said, because it's like 11 o'clock. I'm still in bed because I've been going through my process trying to stay in this high vibe space. And I said, could you do 12:30? And he said, yes. So I start going about my day, getting myself ready and all that fun stuff, and trying to keep an eye on the time. I mean, it doesn't take me that long to get ready, but still just try not to get distracted and, not be there when I said I was going to be there, because that'd be a pain in the ass, but I am easily distractible at times. So anyway, when I was getting ready to go over there, I went ahead and loaded my heathens up, and we were going to go walk afterwards. But that didn't happen. So I pulled in over at the storage unit, and I parked off to the side in case anybody else needed through, but so I could also see the road. And when this guy's truck came in, because he said it was a black Ram, it's like, all right, no problem. Told him what I was in, and I got parked over at this place, and I'm waiting on him, and it was like 12:24, I think, when I got there. And as I'm waiting, my phone rings. I keep my phone on vibrate here lately, mainly because I forget to turn it. If I have the volume up and then I take a shower and I'm listening to music in the shower and then my phone rings, and it really pisses me off when the music stops. So, especially if I got to get out to get the thing gone or whatever, because it's rarely somebody that I want to talk to. Usually the things that come up are potential spam. It's like, I don't want to talk to potential spam. And yes, I answer them on occasion to make sure it's nothing important. It's not anything important. That one, the one I'm pretty sure it is the one that can never get my name right. Here's this fucked up thing. So, when I got married, I went from Jones to this other last name, which was more complicated and not near as common, and nobody had a problem with changing it for me. This one company as well, which is, it's a collection agency thing, right? So it's for like this stupid credit card that I had after undergrad, and it's been a long time. I haven't had that thing in forever. Ended up in collections. I was paying on it for a while. The dumb thing is, I told them over the phone that my name had changed when I got married. And they got it wrong, right? So, oddly, the name that they put on the account, like the first part of it, I mean, I'm pretty confident it's not a real name. It was just the guy didn't hear what I said accurately and didn't ask me about the spelling, even though I'm pretty sure that I spelled it out to him. But the first part of what he put was hash, Hash, which is actually my mom's maiden name, right? That was my grandparents' last name. So it's like that as the first part of it. So it's like this fucked up thing, but that was still an interesting connection that he misspelled what it was for this other thing with a family last name. It's like, the fuck? But all the same, what the dude put on there was never my last name. The dumb thing is, when I tried to get that switched back to my my maiden name when I got divorced, he couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. For some reason, there was an issue changing it back. They had no problems just changing it over the phone without any documentation when I got married. When I got divorced, it was a big complicated thing and they couldn't do it. So when they call me, when I've answered, and they're asking for this last name, it's like, the last time I said, no, that's never been my name, and I hung up. But I asked the guy to change, or I asked the person I talked to change it, and it was like this big ordeal, and they couldn't do it. So it's like, well, I can't answer my phone then. Sorry. And, I'll get these, they'll send me these things on occasion, and, you can, if you pay this much, you'll get it paid off in this amount of time. If you get this paid, or pay it this much a month, then you'll get it paid off in this amount of time, blah, blah, blah. And then it says, we do not have to send you this offer again. But they always send me the exact same piece of paper. So it's like, do you really have anything to go on? And I paid on it for a long time. And I think what happened was, I think that there was a time they tried to take the payment out because it was set up on an automated thing, and I didn't have enough money in there to cover it, and my bank rejected it because I have that set up so I don't get the overdraft fees, so if it's something that's just like, that thing, it wasn't able to come out. So yeah, but like otherwise, if I don't have the money in the bank, I can't spend over what is there, what is possible to spend. So then for this other thing, I think that was why it stopped coming out. And then one day I just, then they started calling me, and it's like, I don't know. But this is one of those things, I've bitched about this on here before. It's like, I feel like that is one of those things that ultimately it's just part of the way that the system exists to keep people in the scarcity mindset of, you never have enough, or you're aware that, this thing needs to happen and it's anxiety provoking and they're never going to let it go because they really want your fucking money. But when you really don't have any fucking money, it's one of those kind of, things. I've had some weird thoughts on this whole thing too. I would probably piss a lot of people off, and I really don't even give a shit. So, what my mom and I got into it about earlier. Okay. I have talked on here a lot about how, like in my family, you don't ask people to do things. You just, you say the things where it's thinly veiled and they know they're supposed to fall in line and do the thing, right? So then they just do the thing because that's what they've been trained to do. So they, like a good little minion, they just do it. That doesn't work on me anymore. So, an issue, it was that they were always wanting of my time, but rarely was I getting anything to make it worth my while. And now you could always use the argument of, I have a place to stay right now, which, yeah, but at the same time, the reason that I've had the complications with the financial end of things is because I was told I had to do X, Y, and Z to do anything worthwhile in life. And when I did those things, it didn't pan out. Right? So I did what I was told. It did not work. And I'm just supposed to be scrambling all the time to make ends meet at the bare minimum possible, right? And like barely scraping by as a means of existing. It's like my family is like the prime example of the good little minions that the system wants, because then it fucks you over consistently, and you just accept that what you're told is accurate, that if you do these things, you'll be able to do this, you'll be able to have a life, you'll be able to do all these things, but you can't. Right? Like, as all the people choking the flow at the top and telling you there's not enough to go around while the rich get richer and steal your money. It's like, my family is the prime example of the good little minions falling in line and doing the things. That never worked for me. Right? I tried it. I tried it for a long time. When I was with my ex, I even had this, I remember we had this conversation at one point from the standpoint of, men get paid more than women on the hour at jobs that they do the equivalent, if not more work for, right? So it's like there's this whole wage gap problem, and you're just supposed to take it and be happy for the little peanuts that you're given and all that crap, right? But it's like I've seen how all these things don't work. I remember the conversation with my ex was, I'm never going to make as much as you do. It's like, that's some bullshit, first off. I just got to, get the right pieces into place for what I am specifically supposed to do, which is largely the writing, but not exclusively the writing. But the biggest thing is, like I talk on here a whole lot about the collecting data. That's what I've been doing my entire life, collecting data. And now I'm organizing the data to make it make sense in a way that I can do something with it. And the biggest thing has been realizing all the things that I was taught to do that did not work. Excuse me. But, like a big part of what I'm good at doing is kind of like navigating through how things fit together from a zoomed out perspective to figure out how they work together at the smaller perspective. But the means of me doing that and understanding it and making it make sense has been lived experiences and making sense of it as I go, which therefore I have to learn as I go how to do things and how to figure out how to get the money, do the things, all that crap. But okay. So my mom, I came home from walking the dog. Okay, I didn't even finish that story. After I got, I met up with the dude, got rid of the thing, took something else over there, and I'm going to post it later. It's this jewelry box that I had on there for a while. It's close to Christmas. Maybe that'll go now. My aunt called while I was sitting there and asked me if I could take her to her appointment. She had a 1:00 appointment. And my uncle accidentally took both keys to her car. So she didn't have a way to get there. So she asked if I would be able to take her. I said, let me meet this guy, get rid of this thing, and then we can come back and we'll just delay our walk. I said, but I got the dogs with me, so they'll just go for a ride. They'll be fine. So we go and we pick her up, take her to her appointment. Then afterwards, she gets all excited about wanting to get the dogs pup cups because she just loves getting the dogs ice cream. And so we did that, and then we went back to her house, collected her dog, and then went and walked the dogs. When I got back, my mom was blowing leaves away from the house, right out of the flower bed. And she says, this needs to happen in the backyard. It's like, okay. And I said, I'm going to go skate. And immediately it was a dirty look. I said, it is a beautiful fucking day. I am not wasting this opportunity to skate. I'm skating. Right? She didn't ask me to do anything with the leaves. She just said, this needs to happen in the backyard. And to which I responded, okay, I'm going to go skate. Right? So she got this pissed off look on her face. And she says, Tim's coming back over tomorrow to help in the garage. I would appreciate it if you would set some time aside to help. It's like, that is also not asking. Nor is it making anything worth my while. I was like, if she offered to give me money to do it, knowing that I need the income, then, and that I'm doing things that, and it's not paying out in a huge way, then it would be another story. She just expects me to bend over backwards for everything because she said it needs to be done, but not offer anything for my time and efforts. Right? So it's like, no. That is one of those things where I have discovered that was a big part of my problem. Everybody expecting from me all the time and then not doing anything to make it worth my time and energy. So I'm getting run ragged trying to help on everything, and the only thing that's happening is everybody seems to care less about my time and contributions because I was doing it for them to help them, but they just took it for granted. So that's a big part of my issues that I've been navigating through this space. And so it's like when something comes up and it's like, okay, so I know this could potentially sound selfish and entitled, but it sounds that way because I'm finally choosing myself. I'm finally choosing to care more about my energy than about what other people want to put on me, right? But there again, that's part of the system, training people to count themselves as, valueless. You owe everybody else. You owe things. You gotta find forgiveness outside of yourself. You are not worthwhile. You're looking outside of yourself all the time for the answers, and all that happens is you give and give and give, and people take and take and take and don't appreciate your time and energy. Fuck that. Right? I choose me. I did things their way long enough to know that it doesn't work. It fucked me over time and again. Right? So that was what I got from, my whole life was hard lessons that didn't work for me. Now I got to figure it out my way. Right? So, and I've talked about this on here too, because, like going back to the point where when I went to undergrad, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't know who I was, how I fit in the world, what the purpose of my existence was, right? I didn't know any of these things. The things that I had that I liked to do, like the music thing, when it came to, like drumline. So I told a story the other day where the pit instructor, was kind of on my ass about this one little part with the 16th note that he wanted it in a different spot. But then the night that we were trying to change it, it felt like he kept singing back what I was already playing. And so when he would sing it back to me, I couldn't tell the difference because there was no difference in because he was hearing what I was already playing, and rather than singing what he wanted me to play, he was singing that part that I was already doing. It's like, I don't get how that's different from what I'm doing, right? So we had this night where we were just going back and forth around this whole thing, and I, I've talked about that a lot too, that I just really thought I was just an awful player because, I just couldn't figure this thing out. And it was just like, okay, and then the drum line win, and the first thing out of my mom's mouth where I was trying to swallow my pride to thank her for her part in, and putting the program together because she was the band booster president. The first thing out of her mouth when she got over to me was, I deserve this as much as you do. So all it did was take the thing that meant something to me and make it not mean anything. It was like she literally just stole this thing that I put all this time and effort into, and I was one of the leaders for, and then suddenly it's like I wasn't there at all. It's like, okay, and then it was complicated too because I couldn't read music, so that was always one of my downfalls was me and knowing how to read the music. It was like a foreign language. It's like when I was going through slowly, I knew what everything was, but to read it quickly while we're playing something, nope. Not if the notes moved. I mean, if I was playing auxiliary percussion and I had some bass drum and cymbal rolls and whatnot, it's like those I could figure out because that's not an actual note. That's, if it's low, it's bass drum. If it's high, it's the cymbal, right? So it's like, hey, I can handle that shit. But when the notes are moving in a hurry and you're nope, my brain doesn't translate it that fast, right? It's like my brain moves fast a lot with a lot of information, but to slow it down to grab things to make it make sense, that's not a win. It's very difficult. Anyway, So, yeah. So, when it came to undergrad, my brother and I were both told that we had no choice. We had to go to college after high school because it was mom's greatest regret that she hadn't gone to college right after high school, and she wasn't going to let us do that. So we had to go. Okay, fine. But it was never an option. It wasn't like, it was something that I feel like if I would have been able to step back and have an opinion about what I wanted to do, or, you know, what I wanted my life to look like, I would probably have taken some time off to save money so I didn't have to just take out all the loans. But that wasn't an option. It was go. Which takes me to another point which pissed her off. Okay, so I still have some loans from undergrad that I've been paying on. And there's been a few times that I had it where I think it was just like interest only, that like that was what was due each month. Like they dropped it down because, you know, my income hasn't been stellar. So it was like I had to pay like $12 instead of 50, right? So it's like, okay, better. I can figure that out. And keeping in mind, that's for these 3 loans that I still have, right? So my $36 or whatever for the 3 loans. But then once Gracie moved, it was a little tricky again. Well, that's one of the things that happens is when that one's late, because I don't have the money to pay it, you know, they start, after about a week, they start doing the phone calls, and it's a co-signed loan because I didn't have the opportunity to build any credit before I went to undergrad. So part of what I had to build credit on was the loans that I was taking out to go to college. So my parents had to co-sign it because I had no credit. But I also wasn't given the option to do anything else. It was just, this is what you're required to do. Well, it would have been easier to do something worthwhile if I knew more about myself and what I wanted to do and what I wanted from my life, if I would have taken a break briefly to spend some time to figure it out, right? You know, like when you're still on your parents' insurance till like 26 or whatever and all that stuff. So like you still have a little bit of time. In that time frame, that would have been great to figure myself out. But that wasn't what worked out because everybody else told me what I had to do and didn't give me the opportunity to try to figure it out differently. So I had to figure it out. I had to figure out why what they wanted for me didn't work. And I figured that out. But now that I'm trying to figure it out, you know, now keeping in mind, I have been doing the YouTube thing now for 2 years. The purpose of my YouTube thing has been for me to process through the baggage that I've been carrying all my life, right? Putting it down, processing through it, letting it go, not carrying it in my system any longer. 3. Yes. It's like, wait, did I say enough 3s or did I say too many? It was 33. So that's what I've been doing here. And part of that has been, you know, I don't have a real job per se at the moment because I'm trying to navigate through this other stuff that like all this, the trauma that I carried from my earlier years and whatnot, that stuff that I've had to process out and release from my system to be able to find clarity to, you know, consider what it is that I want to do, to try to come up with other options for myself, you know, to get to this point where I actually don't mind talking in this space. You know, like I used to hate cameras, period. And then I had to start talking to my phone and seeing my face the entire time. It was a little bit of a struggle when I was starting out, especially that end of, you know, where everybody was always trying to take my voice away from me to make it so I couldn't organize my thoughts, get the stuff out of my system, you know, which writing is a big part of the biggest part of what I'm supposed to be doing. But there's so much of this other stuff that has to get out of my system before I can organize my thoughts enough to be able to put it down on the paper, right? Which there again is exactly what the system is trying to prevent us from being able to do, right? Because I know I'm not the only person that is having that issue. That takes me back to the Keanu Reeves thing, right? So when I was with my ex, and it was toward the very end of it, I was in the process of leaving, but I was still there, and we hadn't had the conversation that I was leaving yet. But he was just like, there was just one day, like, he was chronically mean. And, he was always making the comments about, should have raped you when I had the chance. It's like, first off, fuck you. But second off, okay, so then, I'm having all these things that he's saying that's like grating on my nerves. And it's like, I know that I cannot tolerate it. Like, everything about this dude, after I started processing through some things with Tyler and making some connections early on with the stuff from when I was 8 and whatnot, excuse me. Like, once I started processing through that stuff, I started being able to care more about myself in that connection with my ex. So then he'd say the thing and it would piss me off. And, like, where starting out, I just took it. That became less and less acceptable. It got to the point where it's like, like, he would be able to incite rage in me in like no time at all, because I actually started recognizing my own value, because I was finally realizing how the stuff that I'd been told hadn't even been true, but everybody accepted it because I was the girl and my voice didn't count, right? So the system fucked me up on that end, right? But that's actively what it exists to do, right? So, like, especially going back to that politics and religion is fuck buddies, right? They have this idea that they are trying to, the distorted masculine is the be all end all. If you got a penis, you're good to go. Fuck that. And essentially it is that point of very much devaluing the feminine across the board because okay, going back to that male loneliness epidemic. The reason there are so many men that have issues finding good relationships are because they don't want to have to do the work. They just want to be like my grandfather and like my father and have their ass kicked just because they kissed just because they have a dick. No. And that, like, for those of us that have had to go through the shitty experiences with, like the shitty marriages, for example, and then feeling stuck and having a hard time getting out of it, that is exactly the point. The system wants to keep us chronically in that state of not valuing ourselves, of running all the time, so we can't have the space to process through. We don't take time to rest and allow ourselves the space to let things go, right? To recognize what we need to hang on to and what needs to get out of our system. Like, they want to keep us busy, so we're not able to do that. They want to keep us devaluing ourselves, so we cannot do that. So once Tyler died and I started writing him these letters, because finally it's like, okay, whatever's on the other side of death, he already knows everything that I would have denied had we been talking in person. So because of that, it gave me the space to be open about the things that, it gave me the space to start making the connections and realizing that I was getting drugged through the dirt for shit, right? Like, for stuff that, like, wasn't even my fault, things I hadn't actually done, just because there's that idea that, men are better, which, again, But that's exactly the thing, right? The system wants to keep it so, men are able to stay in these dominant roles, and, men are supposed to be this and this and this and not have feelings and all this bullshit stuff, right? So it ultimately, that's another level, like the attempt to squash the emotional capacity in men is another assault to the feminine aspect. It is strictly that, the feelings, right? They don't want you feeling things, because if you feel things and you have empathy or compassion for other people, and you aren't okay with people just getting ripped apart from their families, then you're more likely to be a problem for the system that wants to keep ripping people apart from their families so they can, have slaves. And another thing that whole, ripping families apart thing does, as those, as you end up in as you have situations where kids suddenly have existences without one or both of their parents because of the stupid government bullshit, then, that level of healing that those kids would need to go through to find their way to their selves as well, to wholeness, that's another problem for the system, right? So, and it also, okay, so as those kids grow up and don't know how to be a mother or father because they didn't have a mother or father, right? So this is another layer of that. So then we have a bunch of people that end up in parenting roles that don't know how to do it either, because they didn't have any, because maybe they didn't have it, or maybe something happened where it was problematic parenting. If we want to look at my situation, my problematic parents, where, if you do the things, they try to squash you down because you're not supposed to have it better than they did, right? They want you having things as hard as they did. That's what the system wants, because then we can't make it better. And, okay, going back to that male loneliness epidemic, right? Because, like, knowing what I know now, having been through the divorce, okay, like, first off, that situation with the money, or with the name change, right? It was so easy when I got married to change everything, but it was a pain in the ass when I got unmarried to fix it. And, okay, so my student loans for seminary, I jumped through some hoops back in 2019 to get that changed. That was one of the first things I did as soon as I got divorced, was go and get my name changed back. And I mean, I don't like Jones more anymore now than I did back then, but I preferred it to the other one because there's a dickhead connected to that one, and I would like to scrap that whole part of my history, right? Lesson learned, just throw it away, move aside. We'll take the lessons, trash the rest. And I jumped through all these hoops with fucking Nelnet and got my name changed back. They had it fixed on a couple of the documents that I got. And then somewhere along the line, they reverted back to the old name. It's like, the fuck happened? And I haven't had the capacity to want to deal with that again. Those loans are currently in deferment, because that's going to be hella expensive, and I don't have that right now, right? And luckily I can do that with that one. The other ones can't, there's no more deferment on those. So the ones that are in deferment, fine, but I don't want to deal with the name change shit again, because I just did all that not that long ago, and they fucked it up and reverted back, right? So, and then, like, when I went back into the system, like, I can't even find where I sent them the documentation anymore. It's like, I know that happened, unless this is one of those timeline jump situations. And the timeline that I was on and the timeline that I'm now on are not the same timelines, which I would absolutely believe that for various reasons. So that's a possibility. But all the same, it pisses me off, right? So what I know now is, okay, also that idea of being you're your father's property until you're your husband's property, right? You're not your own person, right? That's fucking bullshit. And that I wish I would have known beforehand, right? Because I was always told that I had to look for something outside of myself to be happy. Outside of yourself does not make you happy. You have to find it within, right? Your wholeness comes from within. You have to learn to trust yourself, your intuition, and not talk yourself down all the time. And the system exists to teach us to talk down to ourselves and to devalue ourselves, to look for something outside of us to fix us. So then we never get fixed. Because when we step into the full embodiment of who we are here to be and who we are supposed to be, into our wholeness, the system's not going to like that, because the more and more of us that do that, the less the system has control, right? So, how did I get there? Fuck it. The Keanu Reeves thing. So, as my ex was saying all this bullshit, somewhere along the line where I knew I was leaving and was in the process of moving stuff to the storage unit and all that, somewhere along the line, the thing with Keanu Reeves and the Bakersfield, whatever, it was like the flight that, like, the next flight got canceled or something, and he was able to rent a vehicle, but then he also appreciated the fact that other people couldn't afford to just, rent a vehicle, and so they would be kind of stranded. So he ended up renting like a van and taking everybody, right? So they all went together. And so, after that, just like all this stuff, all these people coming out of the woodwork to share these amazing stories with Keanu Reeves. And what happened was, that little intuitive voice that chimed in that said, if there is one, there are more. Those are your people. Find them. And then, anytime my ex was opening his mouth, it's like, nope, this is why this isn't going to work. This is why this isn't going to work. Then one day he chases Taz around the house trying to kick him. It's like, this is why this isn't going to work. And then, that day, I was pissed when he was chasing my dog, because that's my damn dog. And, so I got up in his face and told him to back the fuck down. And he got really super sadistic and starts laughing in my face. And that's what I wanted you to do. You should have done that a long time ago. But he was straight up mocking me the entire time. But he loved it that I got pissed. But that's one of those things is, for those of us who have had to go through the shitty relationships and learn the lessons the hard way, once we get out of them, I would rather be single forever than to be with somebody that I was not meant to be with. I wish I would have been taught to value myself first, because I never would have ended up with that asshole, period, had it not been for how I was conditioned to believe about the world, about my life and myself, all of those things. Had I been aware of those things before, I would not have gotten into that trap. So ultimately, the system, once women and girls especially, to get into the relationships with the toxic, parasitic, masculine, the distorted masculine aspect, because if we get stuck in those connections, they are parasites. They latch onto your system and try to suck the life out of you. That is what the system is set up to do, right? So, and it goes back to that point of the masculine ruling over the lower three chakras, right? So root, sacral, solar plexus, those are the physical, right? The 3D, right? The feminine operates in the upper chakras, and, so we make the spiritual kind of connections and all these things. And that's not to say that men don't do that. That is to say this whole thing, basically the duality exists just as a means of showing us that there are these opposite energies, but they have to be brought together. They have to be married within yourself, right? The knowing when to do and when to rest, when to be, right? So if you're just doing all the time and run because you have to, and, like in this fucking system where the woman is made to, or is accepted as being less than, you're not worth getting paid as much and all these bullshit things. Like once we really have the eye-opening experiences and recognize our value more, that's where we stop agreeing with the bullshit that ends up with the toxic connections where, we end up with these parasitic leeches latched onto our energy and can't get them off, right? And, okay. I know there was something else in there that I had this brief moment of, I thought about it and then I altered it or went another path. And then now I know that it was there, but I'm not sure where it went. Excuse me. Like, that's one of those things. I was just thinking, okay, I've talked about every now and then I'll end up in an Instagram post and I start wandering in the comments, like I'll think of something and add it, and then it's like the people that respond exist in the system that very much is trying to keep us in that way. So, okay. So Jerry Wise talks about how, there's the narcissistic family super self, right? So when you start trying to self-differentiate in any kind of way, the ones that might have been your allies along the way suddenly shift into this other way of being to put you back in your place kind of a thing, right? And that actually made me think of something I saw on Facebook a while back. It was talking about in the Matrix how, it was... yes, but it was talking about how when you're having a conversation with somebody and then you say the thing that the system doesn't like, it's like, what's his name, Mr. Smith or whoever suddenly activated, and like suddenly this person starts, essentially shifting into that role where they're trying to put you back in your place. Make it so you are agreeing with the system, so the system is safe to continue assaulting everybody and treating everybody like shit, right? So it's like that same exact thing, and that goes back to the whole thing with, okay, another part of that duality, the masculine and feminine, however you want to look at it, is the darkness and the light, right? And I would go back to the part where the Hebrew scriptures did not have a Satan figure. The word that they had translated to adversary. It was not something outside of you that you blame for your problems, like Christianity has us convinced that it's supposed to be, right? Which is part of the system. Government and religion is fuck buddies, once again. But the adversary, because it is a part of you, right? You have to bring your shadow and light together. It's making the unknown known in yourself too, because the stuff that lurks in the darkness, which for me, one of the things that I was running from for so many years was all the bullshit with my cousin, because everybody told me that I was a whore and I was all these things because of this thing that happened, just to be 35 and realize that what everybody accepted had happened hadn't actually happened. And it's like, well, that's fucked up. But, now I gotta, figure, only because I had the space to start processing it through. And, the way that I was able to safely do that was because my friend died And since he was dead, whatever was on the other side of death, he had to know everything that I would have chosen to lie to myself about, right? Is he already knows, so what's the point in lying about it? What's the point in denying that it's there? And then as I started processing through it, writing him the letters, I realized what I had accepted as truth about myself wasn't even true. That's like, well, how much would that have changed every goddamn thing in my life? So yeah, there again, it's a very complicated system. But yeah, so we have to be bold enough to look into our shadows and to figure out what's there and to process through it, right? And that is exactly why the system wants to keep us busy all the time and struggling to get by, because if we have the space to start putting the pieces together, then the system is going to fall apart. Like that's that's what's going to happen. And why part of that, like the idea of the Antichrist, like no, that's a real thing, but the system is the thing, right? And the Christ light, like Christ was not part of Jesus' name. Jesus had the Christ light, which is the divine light. But there again, that point of Jesus said, I have called you brothers. He didn't say fucking worship me. He said, I have called you brothers, which means, we're on the same level. So, I feel like that was ultimately, okay, like after Jesus died, however you want to believe that happened or not, right? As it got further away from his life, the things that others that learned from him, right? Those things, they tried to continue on, right? Until the government gets in there and gets pissed off at the people because they're losing control. So they start killing off the people that actually have the message that he was sharing, and, assaulting the scriptures. They pick and choose what they want in there. And, some things get ripped out of there, and then some things get added in later. And like homosexuality wasn't even fucking in there until like the 1940s. And why does this get added in there? Because we want to have a new demon, right? We want to have a new enemy, right? Somebody else we can focus on as the problem. And then we're never looking at our own shadows. We're always looking for something outside of ourselves to be the enemy, so we could do no wrong. And if we believe that we could do no wrong and are refusing to look at our own damage, then we end up turning that and assaulting others because they're outside of us, so they must be the enemy, right? Or they say things I don't like, so they must be the enemy. Some people are just not for you. Like my family, like whatever their existence will be when I'm not in it, they are not for me, right? So when I'm gone, and, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to go that way. But yeah, like it is okay for them to exist however they want and to continue buying into the bullshit illusion within themselves if that's what they agree to. And that is, if my mom and her sisters choose to keep living with the idea that my grandfather was somehow an amazing person and had no wrongs and everybody else was the problem, blah, 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 that's on them. I see it as bullshit. I'm not into illusions. I'm not into keeping anybody's illusion alive. Fuck facades. I'm done with that, right? So, yeah. Okay. I don't think I finished that point. And since it kind of made me sound like an asshole, it kind of made me feel like an asshole until I started thinking about it. my student loans that I was talking about. Okay, so when the one that they co-signed on, because I had no other option to go to college at that point in time, when I had no credit, when I had nothing in my name, when I knew nothing about what I wanted to do or any of those things, they had to co-sign, right? So when that gets late, they start getting phone calls too. My mom gets annoyed at the phone calls. I just don't answer my phone. I turn the volume down and I don't answer my phone. And at some point, she ends up paying it, right? So she paid it today. She's paid it a couple other times. This is not a thing like that we've gone through over and over again. When I was right out of undergrad and I got my first real job, I was like putting all my money on trying to get these stupid loans paid down. And I paid like, I want to say at least $8,000 on them. Then the next problem was I got a boyfriend and wanted to do stuff that wasn't just paying all the bills. I still paid them, but it's like when I was focused on that starting out, that's where it all went. It's like, let's do this. Whoop. But then I got distracted by other things. Then this is less priority, because now I want to have a social life because, hey, we can go do stuff. Right. But yeah, it's like I've always been paying on it. I mean, there was the great once in a while that something would come up and it would be an issue, but otherwise it's been me, right? But now that I'm taking this time to figure out my path, the path that I want for my life, that's not one of my focuses at the moment, right? So it's like, it's irritating because I know, because going back to the system, right? The system wants you in debt. It wants you to be struggling all the time. So part of what I have had to do in this time frame to break myself of that poverty consciousness thing is, I have a couple things that are late right now. I did a couple pay in 4 things, and so they got a late payment added on to them. Probably not doing great things for my credit, but there again, credit's just another one of those things that's trying to lock you into the system as well, right? So it's like I have had to step back from it and stop seeing it as a problem and starting to be more inclined to be grateful to the universe for what I have. That's why I'm trying to prioritize that it's all coming together. Everything is working out and I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, right? So even if I have these things that are late right now, soon, that's not going to be a problem anymore. But the biggest thing is not agreeing with the fact or with the idea, that there's not enough to go around. Because there is, it's just there are certain assholes that are choking it off to keep other people in this energetic slavery, so we can never have our own lives and our own existences of our choosing, because we're locked into the system and we're locked into the agreements that we have to do X, Y, and Z just to exist. No. That stuff's just to keep us from stepping into the fullness of who we are, right? So I got some phone calls from Mohila now, I think, and because it was late, right? So my mom made a payment on them today, and so when she's pissed at me because I didn't just voluntarily step up, but she also still didn't ask me to step up and do the leaves, or anything else on that end, right? She doesn't want to say it. She just wants me to get it because I always got it before. And I always just, yielded to what she wanted she wanted me to do. So my energy did not matter to her because, she was spending her time elsewhere. She was, she wasn't the one getting pissed off that the garage is so full until it stopped cleaning itself when I stopped doing it. Because I started realizing my time and energy was getting wasted, and then she just kept bringing shit in and not doing anything with it for herself, right? But she was the one that put it there, right? So I stepped back. I don't want to be in the middle of all your chaos, and everything you want to bring into the house all the time, and just be the one to fix it because you want it fixed, but you don't want to do anything about it. So I had this moment of feeling like that. I mean, that makes me feel like a jerk that, I have these student loans and then, she's making the payments on them. But when I started thinking about it, it's like, those are her loans. Every bit as much as they are mine, because she was the one that told me I had no other option and I had to go, right? So I did pay on them for a long time. At this point in time, like I've said, I know that it probably sounds really shitty to a lot of people, but because they were blocking me at the time that things could have been easier, I don't feel bad about taking this time to focus on my energy and how I want to spend my energy, right? I would rather walk my dogs and connect with nature and make the connections with things that I've been processing through in that time, right? That is exactly what the system doesn't want us to do, because as we process those things and we stop agreeing with all the bullshit, the system loses power. System don't want to lose power. System's going to lose power. And we are entering a time very soon where that's coming. That's like more and more. It's like, I've been talking about how, things feel like they're speeding up. And, I've said a lot that I feel like once things start falling into place in my life, they're going to go fast. And, that's across the board, right? And I feel like that's exactly where we're at, like, especially with this country. Like, the more of us that start speaking out on the things that we don't want to agree with anymore, and we're not just going to bend over backwards to give everybody who's not worthy of our time, all of our time and our energy, because they don't appreciate our energy anyway, then the system's going to have to change. It has no other choice, right? So like the system is the very antichrist. The Christ light, the divine light, comes as more and more of us do our own healing work and step into the fullness of who we are and stop agreeing with the bullshit. So on that note, it's getting chilly. And I got another stop I got to make. I don't know why my mom told me to do it. We have a family friend that is apparently out of town, but they had a couple packages delivered, and my mom asked me if I could go pick up the packages. And I was skating, and I said yes, but then I was thinking, why didn't the friend ask me? And it was probably because, she's like my mom's age anyway, so she probably said, hey, could you ask her? Or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about that. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and go do other shit. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.